that we have seen for Islamic banks and Islamic financial institutions. On the other side, if we look at the customer base for Islamic financial institutions, 15% will be the dedicated Islamists who will come to the bank, whatever the product or services that you may offer. So that's something which is kind of taken for granted for the Islamic financial institutions. There is the other 15% who are the non-believers. Believers. So whatever you may do, however good your product or services may be, they'll probably not come to you. And there is this other significant chunk of 70% who are independent and who will come to Islamic financial institutions depending on how they design and develop their products and how they're deploying them or bringing them to the market and its customers. So this will be the key for how an Islamic financial institution will grow and align itself over the next, in its investment towards growth and progress. On the other side, if we look at the cost of compliance, apart from all the other mandatory compliance initiatives that any conventional bank has to ensure, there are other Sharia compliance requirements, Sharia audits, the various boards which do the auditing. These compliance requirements also need to be met by the Islamic financial institutions. So the cost of compliance overall are higher for Islamic financial institutions. If we look at the competitors, it's not just that you are competing with Islamic banks in your market. It's also the conventional banks who you are competing with in terms of attracting customers and offering them products. Not just conventional and Islamic banks, you also have the non-banking financial institutions who you will also have to compete with when you have to soar towards your success. On the product side, things have been evolving at a rapid pace, and things have been evolving in terms of how the interpretations go. And even as we speak, there are new regulations and standardizations which are being observed in the Islamic finance space. One of the studies which were conducted by IBS London way back in 2007 actually revealed some of the startling facts about how Islamic banks have ventured in technology. And some of these important facts are the decisions being made by the banks have been too quick. So they were probably looking at some quick fix solutions or trying to quickly get a vendor, do the deployment, and start running the operations. Now, Islamic banking and Islamic finance is not a simple and easy offering. Now, that's something which vendors and technology players need to understand. Banks have been under budgeting for their technology. That's the second important aspect. So while conventional banks would typically keep aside, depending on its size, maybe $1 million for their technology, Islamic banks are, it was noticed back in 2007 that they have not been budgeting enough for the technology side, which is so very important for banks to function in today's dynamic world. Vendors also lacked knowledge in the Islamic finance space. So vendors were also trying to think that, probably Islamic banking is a simple kind of thing, and we can actually tweak some of the existing conventional banking products to deliver Islamic products which Islamic banks and financial institutions can go and offer to their customers. That's something which, again, is one of the findings, key findings of this particular research. In several cases, it's also been noticed that vendors has been trying to mislead the banks in terms of believing what their need is in terms of the technology platform. And the fifth most important point is the varying interpretations of Sharia. Now, from 2007 to today, how we have seen the dynamics of this particular space change is decisions being made too quick. They are less prevalent right now. So we are seeing Islamic banks and Islamic financial institutions invest a little more time in trying to understand in what they are investing, not just go and pick up a software which can service. Some of the other things are the budget that is being allocated to the Islamic finance technology. We have seen some of the Islamic banks who had initially gone and invested in some some lower technology platform. They have decided to actually go and replace their legacy and invest in better technology platform to ensure that they can come up the curve quickly, they can deliver better products and services to the customers, and be more compliant to the changing regulatory requirements. We are also seeing, in terms of the vendors, there's a marked improvement in terms of their understanding and appreciation of this niche space. Once again, earlier we did notice as part of the study that vendors in some cases were probably misleading the Islamic banks because there was an interpretation issue of how you appreciate and understand the banking requirements for an Islamic institution. So these again have evolved. Vendors understand them better. They are taking a different stance to ensure that there is more collaboration, more understanding, greater depth in how the technology is deployed. Also the vendor interpretations and the interpretations of Sharia, that is also seen some drastic reduction because there is a lot of standardization which has been happening over the last 5 years. As a technology vendor, we find that there are several players who have played a role in re-architecting the technology platform for Islamic banking and Islamic finance. From the vendor side, we had initially seen that there were separate products, one for Islamic and one for conventional banking. On the other side, we have seen, the Islamic banking product was probably sleek and, they were architected differently to meet the requirements more as an ad hoc basis than a prominent platform. Most of the products were also very procedural based. So what we had seen is time needed to launch a new product or change anything in the existing system were much longer. From a bank's perspective, we have seen that the older banks have started replacing their legacy systems, and they have started investing in newer technology platforms. The banks have not been able to offer sophisticated products and services to its customers, because at the end of the day, it's the same customers that conventional or Islamic banks are servicing, and customer is as demanding as ever. So how quickly and how well you turn around and support or service your customers has become one of the key driving factors for banks. On the technology side, technology has evolved significantly. From the earlier days of procedural languages, we have now moved to services-oriented architecture towards cloud. So it's a huge transformation that we are seeing on the technology side. Competition has been very strict. We are noticing that new Islamic banks which are coming up, they are able to snatch the customers away from the existing Islamic banks. So there is competition which is causing the banks to rethink about their strategy and how they are approaching customers. They are